Good morning. Hello and welcome to Fantasy Live Start Sit Hour. We'll be answering your start sit questions for the next hour. Talk about a freaking show. As always, I'm joined by the great Chris Allen. Happy Sunday, Chris.
Happy Sunday, my friend. And I'm hoping there are not going to be any kicker questions going on in the chat today because I'm going to tell you right now, Hartitz, I was out last night with a buddy of mine, Joey. Like we played cards with him a couple of times, and we're sitting there watching the game last night. And it's right as they were driving, they get inside the red zone, and I pull up. I forget which sportsbook app, and I was like, "Hey, should we just go ahead and bet on Buckeyes money line?" I mean, look at where they're at right now. It's either going to be a touchdown or a field goal minimum. And then we're looking at a coin flip to get us into like once we get into overtime in order for us to win some money. He hands me $20. The guy shanks the field goal, and we're just like, all right, let's just go grab another beer. Okay, so that's it. So no kicker questions. All right, I'm done with kicker questions, at least for the next week or so. Let's just go ahead and move that over to week 15 or whatever, because I'm just ready to talk ball. Talk about offensive skill players instead of kickers.
I could not agree more, Mr. Chris. I was not too pleased by that set of occurrences either. Good win, Indiana, whatever. We're on to the next one, and we're on to week 14 here in the NFL. So we appreciate you guys hanging out with us here. And with that, Chris, let's get after it. As always, I wanted to go through some of the weather and then just the outlying, kind of guys who are still questionable. I will say we're pretty quick on the ladder. It looks like only Dolan Kake guys has any real level of concern. He is expected to play, but just the verbiage from Rapshi was basically saying like he's like hopeful to play. He's going to go through warmups and things should be okay. So we'll say again, if it is a Kincaid versus Bretton Strange or Darren Waller sort of situation, I think I am okay going with the other guy because the other big part of this, Chris, is the weather going on seemingly in Buffalo, Cleveland, and Jacksonville. Those are the three games you're most worried about?
Supposed to be a little rain also a little bit farther south in Tampa, but not enough for me to be concerned. Jacksonville's the biggest one because as of right now, the forecast calls for about like 0.2 inches per hour during pregame warmups and right at kickoff, which again, like 0.2 probably doesn't mean anything to you, but that's more or less the downpour. The stuff where you can see if you were watching it from the normal broadcast angle, you'd be able to see like a lot of rain like coming down at the same time. So those types of conditions make in-game play calling efficiency, all of that stuff, a little bit harder to manage. So if those conditions do extend into the earlier parts of the game, you could see the more running versus passing, and of course field conditions because they do have like grass and sod, if I remember, no, turf actually for Everbank Stadium. You could see field conditions start to degrade as well. So that's my general concern as of right now. Hopefully it lightens up at kickoff. So I'd say if you can check out some of the beat reports, see how things are looking during pregame warmups. But otherwise, snow in Buffalo, not a ton or enough for me to change how I'm going to be approaching that game anyway. You're still starting Burrow, Chase, Higgins, and all the guys on the Buffalo side, Cook and Josh Allen, and Kincaid if he starts. But otherwise, not too many other concerns, especially in Cleveland as well. We know who we're starting in that game too.
I was about to say, we got Quinshawn Judkins, so maybe it'll actually help him that we have some snow on the ground. So no real concerns there. And again, it's a situation too where, and Kevin Roth even talks about this over at RotoGrinders. Again, rotogrinders.com/weather/NFL. Very good resource. Like Tom Brady's even said in the past that he liked playing in the snow because it would slow down the pass rush and a little bit tough for the defense to react as opposed to the offense who obviously knows where they're going during the course of any given play. So not too worried again about the Bengals or Bills, Titans or Browns. They have their own concerns in the latter. It will be the Colts and Jaguars that I do think warrant the most downgrades. And then to Chris's point, Tampa Bay and the New Orleans Saints, maybe a little bit of rain. It's also going to be cold for the Bears and the Packers, but nothing to overly worry about. So with that in mind, Chris, let's get to everyone's lovely start-sit questions, starting off with our guy, Jeremy. Good morning, my friend. Guillotine final, Chris. 'Tis the season. Need upside, half PPR flex. I love guillotine questions. Rashee Rice, Derrick Henry, Chase Brown, or Breece Hall. Again, I get you need the upside. It's tempting to say it's December. He's home. He's a touchdown favorite. I get the Derrick Henry allure, but I'm still going Rashee Rice, Chris.
Yeah, it's Rashee Rice just from the amount of targets and also like where he gets them on the field. It's around like 7 air yards per attempt. He gets most of those layup targets from Patrick Mahomes. And even though the Texans secondary has been something of a tough out to pretty much everybody throughout the entire season, this is going to be a game where we know the Chiefs, they're back into a corner. You know that they have to win in order for them to even have a playoff spot at this point, which is kind of crazy to think think about the Chiefs, in this day and age. But still, with Rice's separation from Worthy in terms of where they're at on the pass game pecking order, I would say Rice's volume should be enough to be the best choice out of that group.
Chiefs offensive line, all kinds of banged up. But again, given how quickly they usually just get the ball out to Rice, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I do think he is the sort of archetype who should be able to beat just fine. From our guy Gut Checker, pick one in full PPR, RJ Harvey, Emeka Ibuka, or Jalen Waddle. I lean Waddle here, Chris. I could be talking to RJ Harvey. By the way, Max Crosby is expected to play. That could make it a little bit closer, but
Yeah.
hasn't made anything out of his opportunities. If we can say efficiency is volatile week to week, but it's also a decent sign at some point, Chris, of how good you are at football. And so far this year, Harvey has unfortunately not managed to make too much happen. So I know Waddle's had the back-to-back down games, but man, he was crushing it before. And just this Dolphins-Jets game, I do think could be a sneaky shootout. So maybe this is also the week Ibuka finally gets going. But again, it's a situation where how many straight weeks do we need to watch the guy be a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 before we say, yeah, he's kind of a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 at this point. So I'm going Waddle, Chris, but I do think it's close.
Close between the two wide receivers, because you could make the case that for Egbuka, that one, it's going to be, I think it's going to be the second time that they've played the Saints, if I'm remembering right.
I think so.
But even still, the amount of targets that he's still seeing, he's still leading the crew. I think is around like 24% target share so far, and trying to figure out, well, how does he fit into this passing offense with Chris Godwin back in the lineup? Because no Mike Evans this week, but still trying to find out who's going to be in the slot, who's playing outside at the flanker position. So those in-game or like mid-season adjustments, we've started to see that over the past few weeks. Whereas for Waddle, it really is just about how many targets he's been seeing. He is that wide receiver 1 for the Dolphins. So yeah, despite the down games over the past couple of weeks, I'd rather go with the guy that we know is going to get more volume in Waddle than the guy that we think could have a boom week in Ibuka.
And our lovely Xfinity Start Sit tool, which I never have anything bad to say about when it agrees with me, is also going with Jalen Waddle. So love to see that. Good luck, Gut Checker. From Craig, he needs 1 wide receiver and 2 flex in PPR. Ibuka, Sutton, Waddle, McConkey, Ken Walker, and Woody. Again, would be going with Waddle there. I'm cool with Ibuka. And then it sounds like Justin Herbert is going to be playing on Monday night. We are expecting that, so that's good news. So I would probably go Waddle, Ibuka, and McConkey, Chris, and I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, it's either, I would say those first two for sure, and then it'd be either McConkey or Walker. Even last week, it looked like there were a couple of shots where Walker was about to break the long one that we keep thinking is going to happen. And even in this game, I believe they're also supposed to be like 4 or 5 point favorites. The Seahawks are supposed to be. So I could see a scenario where we finally get that explosive run for a touchdown that we've been wanting for Walker for pretty much all season. So it's either one of those two guys. McConkey, if you think that even with Herbert having the busted hand, it's non-throwing hand, obviously, but with the busted hand still puts out like a decent game and enough to get the ball to McConkey or Kenneth Walker.
That does make it close enough to consider Walker. Again, I'm leaning McConkey, but I can see why you would go that direction. Best of luck, Craig. From Wesley, good morning. Quarterback, Patrick Mahomes or Matthew Stafford? Wasn't exactly expecting this question at any point this season, but it actually is relevant, again, given some of the offensive line injuries as well. So I think it's Stafford, Chris. Devontae Adams, again, he's good. I know he had the hamstring thing early on in the week, but just, man, no one I feel like is a better bet right now to at least throw for 2 or 3 touchdowns. So, yeah, maybe Mahomes gets back to scrambling. One of this obviously huge game. They need to win it and everything. We do tend to see him pick up the rushing slack there. But, between 2 top 4, top 5 consensus ranked quarterbacks, give me Stafford.
I believe the Cardinals are supposed to be without at least 2 or 3 starting defenders, like Walter Nolan specifically, their rookie D tackle among one of them. So if there's going to be a case to be made for Stafford to see less pressure than he did against the Rams, and also with at least both of his pass catchers healthy for this game, it should be enough for him to get back to. And he even had against the Panthers, he still had another multi-touchdown game. So assuming he has fewer turnovers or no turnovers, hopefully in this game, he should be the guy over Mahomes, at least for Week 14.
Another one from Craig. Pick one wide receiver PPR. Here we go. Malik Washington, Luther Burden, or Parker Washington. So it sounds like Parker Washington is not going to play. By the way, guys, didn't think we'd have too many issues there, but I stand mistaken. That'd be between Malik Washington and Luther Burden. Obviously, Roma Dunze is out. So I do think this one is going to be Burden pretty comfortably. Again, not the best game, setting going on with Chicago and Green Bay. That said, guys, I have Luther Burden in the same range as Christian Watson, DK Metcalf, Quentin Johnston, Khalil Shakir, and I actually do do prefer him ahead of those guys. I went Burden over DJ Moore, Chris. I'm tired of it. It's 2025. Luther Burden's been the better wide receiver this year. I think he's got the more friendly Ben Johnson slot role. Give me Burden over DJ Moore. I'm sure I'll look dumb for saying that here in a few short hours, but what's new, man? Let's go. Give me Burden.
No, I'm with that. I think but there's the case to be made for Malik Washington. I think he popped up for about 20% of the targets last week. And in the past, and this was when they still had Sauce Gardner, we're seeing the wide receiver 2 for opposing offenses performing a bit better against the Jets secondary than the team's primary wide receiver. So I get why you would have the question, but still, we've seen Darren Waller start to come on a bit. Of course, Devon Achane can still mix in for some targets. So I'm not as confident in Malik Washington continuing what he did last week. So I'd rather the upside of Luther Burden, because I'm with you, man. I can see DJ Moore getting moved around the formation, playing the flanker spot, but it's going to be Luther Burden that's probably going to get more of those downfield shots. And I would also assume that Colston Loveland is also going to get involved there too. So yeah, I definitely like Luther Burden this week.
I moved up Loveland in the ranks, man, like deservedly so, with Rome Odunze being out. Not as high as Mr. Dwayne McFarland, though, who had him as his tight end 5 going into Sunday. Again, the rest of us, tight end 12, tight end 13, a little more reasonable. But Mr. Dwayne's got a certain feeling about Colson.
All right.
Today. From our guy Fly Pace, good morning. Half PPR, heavy favorite to win. The other Higgins or a Burden squared. I would be going with, again, Luther Burden at this point, just ahead of Jaden Higgins, who has been fine. But Chris, it's Nico Collins. And then if it was Jaden Higgins, like I could get behind that. But as much as he is producing as the number 2 man, they're rotating him, Christian Kirk, Xavier Hutchinson, even Jalen Noel, all between like 40 and 60% route rate. So give me Burden again, just whenever it's even somewhat close like this, just give me the guy who's going to be on the field for the full game.
Also, Jaden Higgins, he's been playing more of that perimeter role than anything else. So something of a more volatile workload than what you would potentially see for Luther Burden. So yeah, I'd rather go that route.
So let's see. One wide receiver, Godwin or Shaheed in full point PPR and 0.1 yard for kick and punt return. This must be a game-breaking league for Chimere DK out there. So that said, man, Shaheed could have one catch for 5 yards, and that wouldn't surprise me at all. I thought Godwin actually started to look pretty good last week. Obviously the best he has this season, obviously coming back from one lower body injury after another. So I would still go Godwin there, albeit if the projections are incorporating the kick and punt return yards and it is pretty wide between them, like Shaheed could make sense. So a little bit out of my comfort zone there, but I do lean Godwin like in more normal fantasy leagues.
Yeah, 20% of the targets last week, but also it wasn't just the volume. He was earning, I think, around 4 or 5 yards after the catch on most of his receptions. So starting to look a little spry again. And so with another week to get back over, like coming back from injury, going up against the Saints secondary, I think Godwin's a better choice here.
They're getting healthy at the right time. I was doing a radio hit this week, Chris. And funny thing about radio guys, I'm happy to go talk on radio, but they never actually tell you what you're going to talk about before, which can be a little surprising sometimes when you're trying to, prepare. And they were just like, Ian, are the Buccaneers good? I was like, well, okay, let me kind of try to talk this through. But my main point was I do think they are getting healthy at the right time with Godwin and what you were saying. And then Evans coming back next week. Tristan Wirfs is out today, so maybe that's not exactly going to be helping matters there. But hopefully he'll be ready for next week. And again, whole team getting healthy when it counts. And that DST can hopefully carry us across the finish line in Fantasyland. From Sky Raven PPR, need 2, Zay Flowers, Kyle Monungai, Khalil Shakur, Michael Wilson, Chris Rodriguez, and Adonai Mitchell. So definitely Michael Wilson with Marv and our one true short king, George, unfortunately out of the picture. After that, Chris, I think it's Flowers. I moved Mitchell up, man. I got him as a borderline wide receiver 2. I can't get him that high, though. So give me Zay Flowers and Michael Wilson.
I think those would be the 2. I mean, could you make the case for Khalil Shakir against the Bengals, like interior defense? Okay, maybe. Assuming it's going to be more of a shootout than anything else, but that's more of wish casting. I mean, almost the same thing for Chris Rodriguez. He needs to bang in a touchdown. He's getting that workload. He is the goal line option for the Commanders. But with Jaden Daniels back, you have to wonder if there might be some more rushing or fewer rushing options for him, as Daniels likes to scramble a bit. So yeah, I think I'm with you on those choices, because I think with those other guys, the names stick out, but it's hard to really figure out or project what those game scripts are going to look like.
And we do have Michael Wilson and Zay Flowers earn a nod from our lovely Xfinity Start Sid tool. Love when that works out. So I hear you on Shakur, and maybe a month ago I would have just been fine going with him, man. But it's just 2 of these last 3 games, seeing legit like 5-yard performances, even a negative, I think, in one of them out there. So just any semblance of a floor for any pass catcher in Buffalo, unfortunately, just not there these days. From Colin needs 2 to start in PPR, Devin Neal, Kyle Monungai, and A.D. Mitchell. So obviously Monungai was a little bit banged up, but got through the week and he is playing and everything like that. I still think I prefer Neal. Where are you at with this one, Chris? I think it might be Neal and Mitchell.
Yes, that would be well, because that the Bucks, their run defense is the strength of their defense. So, but I would say, especially because it's in PPR, we have seen Neal like mix in for 3, 4, 5 like catches or even targets like on a per game standpoint with Alvin Kamara out. So he could at least give you a floor against the Bucks defense. Then A.D. Mitchell, I mean, we've seen how much he's been able to earn from a target share standpoint. I think around 25% of the targets in each of the 3 games since he's come to the Jets. So I think it's those 2 guys for sure for me.
A.D. Mitchell, guys, last 3 weeks, highest percentage of his team's air yards in the entire NFL. What a time to be alive. From Big Wolf, PPR must win. Kamani Vidal, Tony Pollard, or Dwayne Bowe. Second time this week I got to say Dwayne Bowe. Appreciate you, Big Wolf. Man, I don't want to start Tony Pollard. I just don't want to. Against Cleveland, too, bro. He's going to have 8 carries for probably 12 yards out there. So give me Kamani Vidal. I do think it's going to be around 60-40, probably in favor of Hampton, but maybe it is closer to 50-50, man. Just, you can't always trust everything these coaches are saying, as the Coach Speak Index has been trying to tell us here over the years. Always appreciate that resource. But I do just think based on just all the words out of there, and Vidal just playing good in his own right, man, I think he's going to be just, again, involved as a 1B at worst, and maybe they do just try to ease Hampton back into action. So I have Vidal kind of in that RB3 range with guys like Bashal Tootin, Michael Carter, Blake Corum, and then I have Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard just beneath them because I do not want to play a Tennessee Titan and anything resembling a must-win matchup.
On that, because you would have to think that with Herbert and the surgery he had earlier this week, or like last week rather, they would try and employ some type of game plan where it's Vidal and Hampton. It's instead of trying to saddle Hampton with this massive workload, try and keep both their running backs fresh and making sure that Herbert stays upright and protected throughout most of the game. So while I do think, like we were talking earlier about if McConkey is a solid play, I think most of the pass catchers should be good, but also should be about, is that entire offense good enough to not put Herbert into some of those scrambling type situations or where he can put his body into some level of contact. So I think trying to have some sort of 60-40 split between Hampton and Vidal makes the most sense to me.
By the way, guys, for our Marion Hampton ranking, Fantasy Live consensus rankings, he is coming in as our RB21. I'm a little bit higher, RB18. Dwayne's kind of up there, RB21 as well. Other rankers are a little bit lower. So we do have him ahead of guys like Woody Marks, Devin Neal, Kyle Monungai, Aaron Jones, Kareem Hunt. Would be starting ahead of him, though, DeAndre Swift, Jalen Warren, Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne's of the world. Moving along, full PPR, Chris, Troy Franklin, Luther Burden, or Tony Pollard. I'm cool going Burden here as well. So let me just, I understand why we have a lot of Burden questions. So where do we have him with the overall ranks? He is our wide receiver 33. Again, I'm a little bit higher, my wide receiver 27. Dwayne's right there with me, wide receiver 28. So Burden is just ahead of guys like Romeo Dobbs, Chris Godwin, Quentin Johnston, DJ Moore, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Addison, Troy Franklin. He is behind Brian Thomas Jr., Deebo Samuel, Khalil Shakur, A.D. Mitchell, and DK Metcalf. Again, in terms of our consensus ranks out there, I actually still have him ahead of several of those guys as well. So just, again, I'm cool with going Burden there, Chris, particularly with Troy Franklin's time on the top, maybe actually coming to an end with Pat Bryant getting more involved.
Bryant getting more involved. We saw Evan Ingram pop up for 20% of the target. So while I think Evan Ingram's usage last week was something more of a one-off because the Raiders pass rush is like fairly legit, but I would say seeing the other guys starting to get into the mix, of course, Marvin Mims is still running routes. I would have more confidence in Burden's role, especially with Rome Odunze out, than trying to figure out whatever's happening with the Broncos wide receivers and, of course, the Bo Nix of it all.
Our guy, Devin, Ibuka or Sutton at the flex in PPR. I'm still leaning Ibuka here. Again, it's getting close at this point. Sutton's been good in his own right. But yeah, we got Ibuka consensus wide receiver 13. Sutton is all the way down there at 24.
Yeah, I like that call, especially. I mean, it took the touchdown from Sutton for him to even get into the top 24, because without it, he'd be probably in the mid 30s from a both usage and catch rate perspective. Because like we were talking about, like he has Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant, Evan Ingram. I mean, most of those other guys also siphoning away targets. Cannot say the same for Ibuka. It's really just like Godwin and maybe K-Dot, and of course Bucky now too.
Yeah. Bo Nix winning football games. Has some very clutch moments too, which obviously matters, in real life discourse and everything, but just hasn't been the most consistent player that we'd like to see, at least in terms of, yards per attempt and things like that.
Yeah.
From our guy Mike, good morning. Need a flex and half PPR. Kenneth Walker, Jacoby Myers, Chris Godwin, or could roll the dice with Kincaid in an A+ matchup. I feel the temptation with Kincaid. He's clearly working at less than 100%, and we've kind of seen that this year. I think it was one of his first games back, actually. They did kind of ease him into more of a 50% route rate, which honestly, we're kind of hoping for 60, 70 as it is there with them keeping their other tight ends involved. So, going to hold off on Kincaid. I'm leaning Kenneth Walker here, Chris.
Yeah, I think so. Jacoby Myers, he'd probably be the other one that I would consider here, just because
Just
how quickly.
rain.
Yeah, that's the rain. That's really it. Because if it were just, clear conditions, I would say Myers would be the best one out of that group. Just seeing how quickly he was able to latch onto a solid target share, get in sync with Trevor Lawrence. I think he would have been the best option here, but I think Kenneth Walker is probably the better one.
From our guy Ross, Jaden Higgins, or Luther Burden. Again, going with Luther Burden there pretty comfortably. From Bob, PPR flex, Sutton or McConkey. I'm still leaning McConkey there, Chris. Again, like Herbert's going to be banged up. I get it, but it is his left hand. Like, am I just making this too simple?
No, I don't think so. I guess some folks are probably wondering how he's going to, if he's going to play, even going to try and play under center. Almost the same questions that folks are having about Aaron Rodgers after the wrist thing with him a few weeks ago. But of course, Herbert's like half the age of Rodgers at this point. So I think McConkey should be the better one, because like we were saying earlier, how many other target or pass catchers will be earning targets from Bo Nix other than Cortland Sutton? Whereas I don't think we do have the same concerns about Lad McConkey.
And that is, yes, consensus among our 5 rankers, all team McConkey over Sutton. So always good to get that clarified. PPR, Chris from Sky Raven, Jaden Daniels or Sam Darnold. I'm going with Jaden Daniels there. Again, I don't love it, man, but just Darnold has had 2 of his 3 worst games over these past, handful of weeks. And on the one hand, like, I get it. He's just kind of played tougher competition. I don't think it's been one, factor of the offense falling apart. I wouldn't necessarily say the Falcons, qualify as a super tough test, but the past he has been good more weeks than not this year. And just with Jaden Daniels, he hasn't even, when he was healthy, guys, like he's not had an amazing season by any stretch. Mariota's actually really been more efficient, more numbers you look at than not. But like Jaden Daniels did not play well against the Packers, and he still scored like 19 fantasy points because Jaden Daniels plays a very fantasy-friendly brand of football. So give me Daniels there.
I would go with Daniels. The only downtick, or the only downside for Jaden Daniels going up against this Brian Flores defense, the last 3 quarterbacks with any shred of mobility to face the Vikings defense, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, and even Caleb Williams, because we know he can scramble. All 3 of them saw pressure on more than 50% of their dropbacks, and he was blitzing them at around also the same clip.
And Jaleel McLaughlin or Tony Pollard. That is the line where I actually will go with Tony Pollard. I still don't feel good about it, but yeah, give us Pollard there. Also on Ross, thoughts on Colts wide receivers in Jacksonville. He has Pittman and Pierce. Yeah, man, it's not good. And like, if it is a closer start-sit question, like I am absolutely fine going with the other guy there. So I have downgraded both guys in the ranks. I have them, just again, behind a lot of those kind of lower end RB2s. And I do think when you even start comparing them, like, Chris, how bad are you expecting it to be? Because I'm looking at it right now, and I got them kind of in that tier with Mitchell, Burden, Watson, and Metcalf, but I'm tempted just to move them below those guys and not even play with it.
I think Metcalf would probably be the line there. I think I'd still keep him above Metcalf, because like Pierce last week, because the Jaguars, they do play a similar style of defense in terms of how they mix up their man and zone coverages as the Texans do. And we saw Pierce catch like a deep shot like down the left sideline. He got the touchdown when they were operating on a shorter field. So I could see a scenario where some of the target volume, even in poor conditions, still going to a guy like Pierce. So I don't mind him for this week, even with the potential downpour.
stuff there from our guy Bob. PPR, Lamar or Jaden. I'm going with Lamar still there, man. Again, not ideal. He's still missing a practice a week, but we got Jaden. Let's see where the actual rankers have him overall. I think I settled on like QB 10, QB 11. I believe our fearless leader over here at Fantasy Life, Matthew Berry, had a similar sentiment. So yeah, he's my QB 10. Dwayne's QB 11. Friedman's a little bit higher as QB 9. As much as we all had downgraded Lamar, guys, he still is inside of each of our top 9s, and again, firmly ahead of Mr. Daniels. From Ross, Toyotathon, Jordan Love or Jaden Daniels. That one is where it's close. I have Jordan Love QB 11, Jaden Daniels QB 10. So much more, I would say, neck and neck. But again, our rankers do consensually have Daniels over Love. What say you, Chris?
I would go, honestly, I don't mind going Jordan Love here. Josh Jacobs talking about he's still playing through that knee injury he suffered a couple of weeks ago. And not to say that Emmanuel Wilson isn't a bad backup, but having Jaden Reed back in the offense for this week, they deactivated him off of IR. So Christian Watson also catching some of those deeper touchdowns or deeper passes that Love likes to make. I would say between the pass game options that he has access to versus Jaden Daniels, I'd give the edge to Love here.
Let's see. Greggy needs to drop one. What's up, Greggy? Drop one for a kicker. Devin Neal, Vidal. This is not. It's technically a kicker question, Chris, but I'll allow it.
But he's dropping. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Neal, Vidal, Christian Watson, or Luther Burden. Man, I don't want to drop any of those guys. Probably Vidal though. At this point,
maybe Vidal. Yeah. Have to see like how, because they play Monday. Is that Monday night or is it Sunday night?
Monday.
Yeah, Monday. So yeah, I could see how, maybe potentially dropping him because they're out of that group. I would say that there's probably potential for you to pick up Vidal off of waivers because I don't know if most folks, especially after this week, how many folks are going to be gunning to get a guy that's going to be in a timeshare with Amari and Hampton.
4 good options, but go ahead and get Vidal out of there.
Yeah,
Fannin or Strange, Chris? I have Fannin. Not great weather in Cleveland either, but just the way they use these guys. Fannin's getting more design plays underneath stuff for him just to be a yak beast. Brenton Strange, he's the one I'm a little more worried about. Like, man, just horrible torrential downpour, and they almost just keep him in the block a little bit more. Like, Strange is the one that I think is just going to have he's not getting the same sort of design looks Fannin has. So I'm team Fannin here.
Yeah, I think so. We're splitting hairs just because of the weather conditions. So yeah, I would lean Fannin. But if it were neutral matchup, everybody in a dome, or something along those lines, I think I would go Strange. But in this case, I'd lean Fannin.
The always biased and unpredictable Xfinity start sit tool is disagreeing with me and going with Strange over Fannin. I'm just kidding, Xfinity. But yeah, I will say it is. I think I am like the only ranker that does have Fannin ahead of Bretton Strange for what it's worth. So if you want to follow the wisdom of the old crowd, it does seem like that Strange would be the call. Let's see. Starting in the flex spot for Ross, AD Mitchell, Jaden Higgins, Bam Knight, or Kyle Monungai. I'm going AD Mitchell there. Again, Bam Knight is close, but we do have Amari DiMercado returning. No Trey Benson, maybe not Trey Benson at all, but I think it's going to be 3 backs in a tougher matchup there against the Rams for the Cardinals. So Monungai isn't too far behind, but I'll go AD Mitchell.
Yeah, and also if we want to kind of give the health bump because of Monungai, popping up on the injury report early in the week, I would say Mitchell is probably the best here. Yeah.
Projecting to win by 10. Full point PPR. Pick 2, Jordan Addison, Kamani Vidal, AD Mitchell, Bashal Tootin, and Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed's coming in as more of a borderline wide receiver 3 in our consensus ranks. Just kind of want to see what he's doing for a week. Good to have him back, though, and obviously knows how to make the most out of limited opportunities. But for this one, oh, man. I'm going AD Mitchell for sure. Do you have a lean on these other guys, Chris?
Earlier about Vidal and how much he's going to be in a timeshare with Hampton, and that's hard to project. Tootin, again, because you could even project the Jaguars to be running more because of the rain, but he's still splitting with ETN, so it's just hard to see how they get enough projected touches for them to be let's say legitimate options for this week. Yeah. So I think I'd rather go. I'd say pick 2. I would say AD Mitchell for sure, and then one of Vidal. Let's say it's probably Vidal or Tootin.
I kind of want Reed. Man.
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay. I
think they're close. I think Addison, Vidal, Tootin, and Reed, you can argue, are kind of in that same 10-15 flex spot range. And just give me the Packers offense over all those at that point.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go with that. Yeah.
From Ricardo, needs to start 2 Marks, Neal, Aaron Jones, and Ibuka. Yeah, so we're starting Ibuka for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Woody Marks. I know it's been annoying, but he's got the best volume. That's just my tiebreaker when we have running back decisions like that.
Yeah, yeah. And Aaron Jones, was he on the injury report for this week too? I thought he
He,
was.
he's good. Like he was limited throughout the week, so there's no
Yeah,
question marks there. But he is banged up.
yeah. So that's kind of the thing that I would just kind of like take him, just make him just a slight cut below those other guys.
Another one from Greggy, full PPR, projected to win by 15. Judkins, Bam, Jordan Mason, Omari, and Hampton. I'm going with Judkins and Hampton. Again, Jones will be playing, and then with DeMercado being back for the Cardinals. Bam wasn't exactly even getting that conversation, even independent of that. So I'm going to give me Judkins and Hampton.
Yeah, because we can project like some more, like it's easier to project more touches for those guys versus the others. So I'm with that.
And then also would be going Zay Flowers over 80 Mitchell. Appreciate you, Greggy. From Heather in the house, one needs some upside. We always want some upside, but I hear you. 2 wide receivers, 1 running back, 1 flex in full PPR. Shakir, Pierce, Worthy, Keenan, Burden, Bam, and Neal. So we need, let's see, 2 wide receivers. I would say Burden and Pierce still. 1 running back.
Yeah.
Neal. And then 1 flex, probably Shakir. So Burden, Pierce, Shakir, and Neal. That sound about right to you, Chris?
Yeah, because nobody else on that list really sticks out. So, yep, I'm with that.
And then Neal, Jalen Warren, and Pierce. I go Jalen Warren there. And then 2 wide receivers between Ibuka. I'm assuming Jaden Higgins, Cortland Sutton, and Christian Watson, Jacoby Myers. So Ibuka and Sutton.
Sutton, yeah.
Watson's close.
That's the other one I was going to say. Like it's either Ibuka or Watson. That he'd be the one that I would probably cape up for.
Cool. Best of luck, Heather. Projected toss-up full PPR, Jordan Mason or AD Mitchell. I'm going AD Mitchell, guys. Aaron Jones banged up. Maybe we do end up seeing more Jordan Mason. This actually could be the game, at home against Washington. Maybe they have a sort of game script. And Mason's been playing good. But just we've seen Jones get banged up almost like every week he's been back. And then just they keep putting him back into the same kind of featured role. So I'm not expecting too many opportunities for Mason, unlike Mitchell.
Yeah, no, I'm with that. That's fine. And I guess also it's the JJ McCarthy of it all. Like, what does he look like in his first game back from the concussion? Are they going to have enough sustained drives in order for them to get into scoring position? So what is that going to look like? So I just have my questions or concerns about the entire Vikings offense.
Good question from Joseph, non-PPR. With Kincaid sounding like he's not 100% potential for snow, do we still trot him out there or go with a safer bet like Jawan Johnson? I think I'm at that point, Chris. I'm updating my rankings as we're kind of doing this. And there's that tier of guys where it's Pitts, Andrews, Loveland, Gadsden, Jawan Johnson. And I think Kincaid probably deserves to be at the bottom of that. Even like Zach Ertz, man. Goddard. Yeah. I'm worried about Kincaid. I just don't know how much he's going to play. And then we have to, is Josh Allen going to throw the ball more than 20 times today? I don't know. So I'm at the point where I'm dropping Kincaid.
No, I think that's fair. And then also with Jawan Johnson, we know that he has that connection with Tyler Shuck. And even though the Bucs pass rush will be something of a problem for Shuck, we've seen Johnson still continue to be, let's say, their pass catcher 2, 3, somewhere in there in terms of where he's at on the pecking order. So Johnson, while I do have questions about the quarterback, how much volume he's been seeing over the past 4 or 5 weeks or so is enough for me to put him over Kincaid just for this week because of the health concerns.
Heather wants to know, would you drop Caleb for Jacoby rest of season or Brock Purdy? And then we also got to decide between starting Caleb or Jacoby. So we're starting Jacoby, and then I think I want Purdy. So I think I would drop Caleb for Brock Purdy and start Jacoby, which is a tongue twister I did not see coming. How do you agree with that, Chris?
If I can remember remember all that you just said, because Caleb. So if we're looking at it, so Caleb has. So he's got the Packers this week, and then it's Cleveland, Packers again, and then the 49ers in week 17. And then so that's a rough stretch because even like the 49ers, they're starting to pick things up on defense a little bit or enough for that to be somewhat problematic for him in the next few weeks. For Arizona, he does have Houston in week 15. Jacoby does, but Atlanta and Cincinnati in week 16 and 17. So yeah, I'm between that and then Purdy getting a mixture of the Titans, the Colts, Sands, Sauce Gardner, and then also the Bears. Yeah, I think trying to mix and match between Purdy and Jacoby makes the most sense.
Our guy Sky Raven wondering Daniel Jones, Caleb Williams, or Trevor Lawrence. I think in that one, though, I am going Caleb. Yeah, I have a Caleb Jones and then a Lawrence. Weather stuff really impacting T-Law. Daniel Jones in a normal week would be ahead, but he's also got to deal with the weather. I don't love the fact he's playing on a broken leg, so go ahead and give me Caleb Williams there. And then Godwin or Mitchell. I'm Mitchell over Godwin still. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, for what this 1 week, we'll see, because now we're kind of projecting that this is going to be the Godwin quote unquote breakout week after seeing his targets start to rise. But with no Tristan Wirfs for the Bucs offensive line, I would say I give it to Mitchell for this last week. And then next week with Mitchell or with Wirfs back, and also with Mike Evans back, also kind of taking away some of the cloud coverage for those wide receivers, I could really see Godwin start to take off then.
I will say our alleged expert rankers as Fantasy Life, as well as our Xfinity Start Sit tool, is leaning T-Law. So I'm a bit on an island here. Chris is hanging out with me, though, so we'll see if the rest of the folks are onto something. Greggy, non-PPR, I would lean Burden. Man, I'm not afraid of dropping, though, Trey Benson at this point, guys. I mean, we have our just lovely insiders saying, oh, man, this is huge. There's a chance that if he's not activated next week, then he's not going to be activated. Like, thank you so much for everything you insiders do out here and just giving us that breathtaking information, but it just doesn't sound good for Benson. Again, the fact he seemingly kind of had that re-aggravation last week, went from an LP down to a DNP as the week went on. I'm not expecting to play at this point, so would not have any reservations about needing to get rid of him. Jeremy, no, I don't know, man. Mevis or Bucker, whoever your app says is projected more points. That is my entire, kicker analysis there. K. Henke, T-Law in the rain, or Darnold in the dome. Yeah, I'm going Darnold.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. I know that Darnold has had some ups and downs over the last couple of weeks, and he's prone to a couple of bonehead plays here and there, but I'll take that game environment over whatever Trevor Lawrence is going to be playing in this afternoon.
We'll see. Knows the Buckeyes still got that natty coming. That's what I'm saying, bro. My high school math teacher always got on me when I would wear Cowboy stuff to school and then not wear it when they lost on the following Monday. So guys, support your squad through thick and thin. Let's see. Orlando, Jaden Daniels or Baker. I'm going Jaden. It's close. We just, with the weather, and let's face it, man, Baker hasn't exactly been putting up big time numbers here over the second half. I'm not saying it's all his fault. They've had injuries, this and that, but I'm going Daniels over Baker.
He's been injured too. I mean, we've seen Baker get banged up over the past couple of games. So without Tristan Wirfs in the lineup for them, I could see Jaden Daniels pulling it out over Baker. Yeah.
That is a tough one. Our rankers kind of go back and forth, though. So if you are leaning Baker, I would not blame you, Mr. Orlando. From Aldo, half PPR, pick one, Jacoby, Debo, Devin Neal, or Jawan Johnson. So again, just when I have these close ones, guys, I do think it's close between Jacoby, Devin. You can even argue Debo. I just tend to lean towards the running back. Give me the guy who's going to have 15 to 20 opportunities with the football in his hands over the wide receiver, probably looking more at 6 or 7. So I'll go Devin Neal there.
Then also, since it's half PPR, it's like, are there going to be enough targets for the wide receivers to outproduce the running back that we know is going to get for sure volume? And also with Neal mixing in for targets with Alvin Kamara out, I can see Neal being the better option here. So I understand that.
Good morning. Wannabe fantasy guy picked up Burden to block my opponent while having DJ Moore. Now I'm debating starting both over Xavier Worthy. Let me know your thoughts in full PPR. I have them both ahead of Xavier Worthy. It's just been so rough for him, man. Like, he caught the deep ball in the scramble drill from Mahomes, but just nothing is easy for Worthy. And this would be the situation, Chris, where against Houston, I don't see Mahomes having time to really go ahead and launch that ball downfield. And also with Worthy being on the outside, probably could see a good bit of Stingley. I'm fine going with both Bears over Worthy.
Yeah, I think that's right, because like we were saying earlier, while DJ Moore might be forced into that wide receiver one role, it could just be him moving around the formation and also trying to move him more to the flanker instead of your perimeter, your primary X receiver. So there should be enough layup looks for either him or Burden that it's just tough to see how Worthy going up against Stingley, or even if they motion him into the slot. I mean, the Texans have been able to cover pretty much every variety of receivers. So both Bears receivers over Worthy, at least at this point.
Brandon's wondering if he should drop Pearsall, Vidal, or Benson to stash the Bears DST. I think I'm fine cutting Benson, dude. He needs to be activated by the 10th, and it's a lot, but I don't know, man. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I would almost at this point, I want to see just Trey Benson holding up today's newspaper or something like that. I need proof of life. We haven't even seen the guy. I mean, Jonathan Gannon's just kind of telling us, yeah, things are going all right. It's really the theory of Trey Benson than the actual player. So yeah, just drop Benson.
Yeah, I mean, again, this was Schefter's tweet. There now is a real chance he will not be activated this week per sources, and he will not be eligible to play again this season. Just again, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but the fact that he did put per sources in there, I think tells me that Schefter probably knows he's not going to play, but he doesn't want to piss off the agent and actually say he's not going to play at this point. So yeah, go ahead, stash the Bears, get rid of Benson. Last one from our guy, Greggy. Appreciate you, bro. Full PPR, projected to lose by a couple. Pick up Spears to play over Tootin. Would not be dropping Tootin. Dude, against the Browns, the Titans could have like 100 total yards of offense in this game, and I really wouldn't be surprised. I think I'd still lean Tootin, man. In that game, like that's a situation where honestly, like Tootin and Spears probably going to have similar touches, I think, especially if Jaguars, embrace more of a run-first approach, which would make sense given the weather. And Tootin's honestly kind of already had that goal line role going for himself anyway over the last 2 weeks. So I think I'd go Tootin straight up regardless.
Yeah, that's not a bad approach to it because, I keep thinking that the Titans are going to try something different in their backfield because Tony Pollard just hasn't been getting it done all year. I mean, not a single 100-yard game from a rushing standpoint. He's been one of the worst running backs, at least amongst all starters, in terms of rushing efficiency. And so not really seeing any more, even just like targets, 2-minute stuff or whatever for Spears, it's just hard to see how he gets more work than Tootin in what should be a better matchup.
From MH1608, start 2 in the flexible PPR, Kenneth Walker, Terry McLaurin, Michael Wilson, or Emeka Ibuka. I'm cool going with Michael Wilson and Emeka Ibuka. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, because Terry McLaurin going up against a perimeter coverage for the Vikings, that should be fairly tough. And then Kenneth Walker, like we were saying earlier, it keeps looking like he's going to bust a long one. It just hasn't happened yet. So that's where I think we're projecting more than what we can actually say is going to happen. So yeah, Wilson and Ibuka.
Brendan, Mayfield, or Brissett. We do have Brissett one spot higher in the consensus ranks. Again, I think the weather factor probably is a good enough tiebreaker there for me. Peter's wondering, Jaden Daniels, Brissett, or Jordan Love needs the highest floor. I'm just probably riding it with Brissett, man. I do have him ahead of – I know we've gotten a lot of Jaden Daniels questions. I do have Jacoby one spot ahead of Jaden Daniels. That's like where I'm drawing my line with it.
Yeah, and I know because we were talking earlier before the show started about how Brissett is really making his production. It's primarily in garbage time. Second half, like most of his 60 or 70% of his production is coming in the second half once they're well behind. So it's really they can't keep getting away with it meme with the Cardinals offense. But still, in this matchup, and also with the fact that we're all pretty high on Michael Wilson, I'd say Brissett has to come along for the ride.
For Rondé Gatson questions, Vibe Quest wondering Gatson or Loveland. I would go Loveland, and then also from Gut Checker wondering weather concerns if we should swap out Strange for Gatson. I wouldn't go that far. The problem with Gatson, guys, is over these last couple of weeks, I think probably because of all the Chargers offensive line injuries, we haven't seen the same route rate from Gatson. He's been hovering closer to 60%. Honestly, kind of getting Keenan Allen out of the offense and just not really out there enough to rack up fantasy points. So I'm cool going Strange and Loveland in those. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, because also Quentin Johnston still seeing targets. Keenan Allen still seeing targets. And we have to assume that because Amari Hampton was also mixing in for about 8-ish% of the looks as well. So if there are enough pass catchers to siphon away targets, and to your point, Gadsden is running the same amount of routes, I would still go with Strange, where we know that target tree is a little bit more condensed around him and Myers, and then we'll see what else happens with the guys out of the backfield. So yeah, I think I'd still go Strange in that case.
Yeah, we do have Loveland and then Gadsden, Strange in our Xfinity Start Sit tool. So take that for what you will. From Trayman, Jaden Reed or Christian Watson rest of the season, especially playoffs, needs to drop one. I think I'm still cool with Christian Watson. Could be wrong there, but we just don't know what we're getting exactly from Jaden Reed coming back. And I'll tell you what, Chris, just based on how Dobbs and Watson are playing, we were praying to start the season that Jaden Reed actually would be going out there and getting his snaps and 2 wide receiver sets that we've always been hoping for. I think that's a complete pipe dream at this point of the season. So just, again, close enough. Who's going to be on the field more? It's Christian Watson. Let's face it, the guy's playing good ball.
To think because he had ACL surgery this calendar year and he's out there just earning 30% of the targets over the past couple of weeks. So yeah, I would say Watson is the better one. I guess we all know if you're rostering Watson and even Reed to some extent because of the, I would say, middling pass rate over expectation for the Packers, we know what we should expect. If Jordan Love is playing well, one of his wide receivers is going to be playing well along with him. So if I'm going to take one of those two, I'll take the guy with the bigger ceiling, at least at this point, which has been Christian Watson, at least for the parts of this season where he's been active, I really would need to see it from Reed in order to kind of believe it.
EJ, non-PPR, I would say it's Burden pretty comfortably among that group. From RM Pancho, though, Chris is a closer one. Full PPR, Luther Burden or DK Metcalf. I have these guys separated by 3 spots. I lean Burden, man. The Baltimore defense is playing a lot better. Rodgers just isn't right. Right now, we can argue really hasn't been for most of the season, but just the way they use Metcalf, man, it really is infuriating. And there's just nothing really has been easy in the Steelers passing games. Just give me Burden, but it is close. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'd also take the upside with Burden because really, like, where is that for DK Metcalf? Like, while he might
don't throw the ball downfield to him,
don't throw the ball downfield for him. We haven't seen it. Like, really, what was it? That one explosive touchdown that he ran against the Vikings when they were playing overseas. That's really the last one that we saw out of Metcalf. And so while he might be the team leader in targets, it's like he'll have 6 targets, but then it'll be 4 to 5 to Calvin Austin, maybe 2 to 3 to Roman Wilson. And of course, the guy that I want to see catching the most passes for the Steelers right now is freaking Darnell Washington. That's all I want to see. So no, forget DK Metcalf. I just want to see Darnell get his looks, man.
Blockbuster manager. It's an auction league. Haters with the qualifier. Love that. Love me some auction, man. Non-PPR, Waddle or Lave or Bowers in non-PPR. Probably a Lave.
Yeah, I think that would be I guess they said the back injury, he should be good to go for today, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, I'd probably say Olave.
Do we go Waddle? Is the weather enough of a tiebreaker in Tampa? How concerned are you there?
Not in Tampa, not at least not for me. I'd still go one of Olave or Waddle.
Yeah, the non-PPR makes it tough too. I think I'm leaning Waddle.
Okay. Yeah, I'd go with that.
All right. Our Pancho, Burden, or Metcalf. Yeah, we're just kind of going over that. We are leaning Burden. Oh, okay, I'm just reading. My bad. Hold on, lost my spot. Hate when that happens. From Jaws, Bam over BTJ. Yeah, probably. I don't love it, but I think there's enough weather concern there.
Yeah, and then also with where BTJ typically likes to play, he does the perimeter stuff. Probably harder for Trevor Lawrence to get connect with him. It's just been a rough season for him and Trevor, so I'd rather go somewhere else.
Standard League flex: QJ, AD Mitchell, Chris Rodriguez, or Chimere DK. I'm going AD Mitchell out of that group.
Yeah, I like DK. I think he's more from a dynasty standpoint than anything else. I mean, unless you're in one of those leagues that counts for return guard, it's like the question we got earlier. Then I would consider DK, but for this week, but in this case, nah.
Number 1 in all-purpose yards, Chimere DK. Gotta love that. Nadeezy, Judkins over Kyron, Jettas, and Abuka. Oh man, the one thing about Tennessee guys, they're a bad team, obviously, but their run defense is good. They got Simmons and Sweat basically holding down the fort there inside, and just again, like it's been Jonathan Taylor. I think Woody Marks had a good game. Those are the only 2 guys to break 17 points. So I think I still have Judkins anyway. Where do I have Kyron? No, I probably have Kyron. I have Kyron ahead of Judkins.
Okay. Yeah. I guess my only concern with Kyron I think it was last week or whatever, like before because they're coming off of their, so after
he
last
got a little
week,
banged up last week. Yeah.
Got a little banged up last week. And also OC Mike LaFleur was talking about the fact that they want to try and keep him and Corum rotating so that Williams stays fresh for their playoff run. So that'd be my only general concern because, Corum, he looks good. Not to say that he shouldn't be deserving of more touches or enough to have to force this rotation, but that'd be my only worry about Kyron is if it's going to be Corum once they get into scoring position or not.
With our ranks, guys, RB11 Kyron, RB13 Judkins, and the rankers are kind of flip-flopping. So that one is tough. I'm just a little more confident Kyron falling at the end zone, but again, we'll see what happens. That would be the list between Velvet, half PPR, Higgins in the snow, or Pittman in the rain. Give me T. Higgins.
No, that's good. Of course, y'all know who I'm going to go with. Of course, it's gonna be T. Come on now.
From our guy Ryan, pick 2 full PPR, Burrow or Hurts, and Burden or Flowers. Again, going Flowers over Burden, and I got to go Jalen Hurts, man. Just enough weather concern. But we see it with Jalen Hurts happening in the Cowboys game. Like, you look up and you're like, he has 30 fantasy points. Like, oh, yeah, because he had the 2 push touchdowns going on.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Even as well as Burrow looked last week, it does rely on his surgical ability as a passer, whereas we don't really have to worry about how bad the rest of the Eagles passing game is for when it comes to Jalen Hurts, because he can have 150 yards and a touchdown as a passer, but then rush in a couple of scores as well. So he'll always have that ceiling over Burrow. So I understand that.
Try to run through as many of these we can in the next 5 or so minutes. DBD barrel racer, Monungai or 80 Mitchell in the flex. Mitchell, Chris?
Yeah, I think Mitchell for sure, especially because of the injury reports like from Manungai. I'd rather 80.
Yeah. Jesse Funk, I would be going Loveland and Burden over Mason Taylor. It's just Mason Taylor and the Jets. Can't be feeling too good there.
Yeah.
TB12, PPR, 1 wide receiver, 2 flex. Genty, Pierce, T. Higgins, Myers, Hampton, Abuka. Abuka for sure. And then probably T. Higgins and Ashton Genty.
Yes, because all the targets that he's been getting over the past few weeks. So while it might be tough for him to get any production on the ground, he can make it up as a receiver. So yeah, Genty. Yeah, I get that.
That's knocking on the door an OG in these streets. I appreciate you, man. Cortland Sutton or Terry McLaurin. I have Sutton a few spots ahead. It's a good matchup, man. And just, give me Sutton.
Yeah, I would say Sutton. I mean, it's not like it sounds like we're chasing points because of Sutton catching the TD last week. But when you have to compare what McLaurin had to go up against last week with also seeing a similar setup for this week going against the Vikings defense, I think I'd rather Sutton.
Wesley also updated us on the punt return yardage league. DK is the wide receiver 3 on the season.
Wow.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
From DJ Ferrari. Tough name sometimes. Flex spot, standard league, QJ. I thought we answered this one maybe. 80 Mitchell, bro. Appreciate you though.
Yep.
From Cameron, half PPR, Neal or 80. That's where I think I'm just going. Again, close calls, guys. I'm taking the running back more times than not. Give me Devin Neal over 80 Mitchell.
Yeah, if it was full, I might consider AD, but half PPR, I'll lean the RB.
From Bruce, needs 2 in standard. Lad Shakir or Pierce. Yeah. I think Ladden. I think I go Ladden Pierce.
Yeah, those two.
Yeah. I hear you. Worry about the weather, man. It's just,
Shakir just hasn't, honestly, Shakir just hasn't been getting it done, and that's with Dalton Kincaid out of the lineup. So even with let's say 50% Kincaid, we're expecting him to do more. That's tough for me.
And just, Shakir might get 3 targets, guys. I know he's capable. He had 100 yards against the Texans a couple of weeks ago, but it's like the games in between then, he's getting 5 yards. So let's see.
But what's going to happen here is that he's going to catch a target. There's going to be 3 missed tackles from the Bengals, and he's going to score like a 60-yard touchdown.
Dude, he's so good after the catch. From Ken Verisco, half PPR needs a tight end. Ingram, Barner, or Parkinson. Ingram looked pretty good last week. I think it was probably because 90-year-old Bobby Wagner was trying to guard him half the time. But I still do have I have Ingram just 2 spots ahead of AJ Barner. That's who it would be for me. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, I think that's the best option out of that group because, I mean, AJ Barner, isn't he the one that's also getting the tush push like for the Seahawks?
Yeah, he is getting that
too. Yeah. But I don't think we can really project that happening. So that's it. Give me Ingram.
Aramaya, Mahomes, or Daniels and 6-point touchdown. I'd go Mahomes at that point.
Yeah, 6-point touchdown. I think that's fine. Yeah.
Nate Easy, I think you're good just rolling with the Broncos D, man, especially with the Eagles now losing Jalen Carter. I'm just worried about them being that same beast, but I see you looking out. Jared, can I play Loveland with Burden or stick with Ertz in that format? I'm a big underdog with guys on bye. I'm cool with going Ertz over Loveland. It's close between those. I think in a vacuum, I probably would prefer Loveland, but that might not even be right. So I'm cool going Burden and Ertz.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, could you tell yourself a story about how Loveland really bumps up into like a more focal point of the offense with Roma Dunze out? Yes. But still, that's, again, we're projecting that. We don't know necessarily how those targets are going to get redistributed. So I'd rather go with Ertz because we know his role within Commander's passing game.
Josh, I agree with your own hunch. I will go Saquon and Kyron, not overthink it there. Let's see. Shuck or Darnold. I put out some Tyler Shuck propaganda this week, but I still Sam Darnold.
Yeah, it's still Darnold. Yeah, we can see the Bucs pass rush really get Shuck back into the way that he used to look when he was in college, in terms of just like underarming a pass to a defender or something like that. I'll go Sam Darnold here.
TB12, we answered the first part earlier. I did miss your second part though, so my apologies there. Jordan Love or Lamar Jackson. I'm still going Lamar there. The one thing I'll say, guys, Lamar, I know the whole talk has been like, oh, the rushing's not there, and it's not there. It's half of what he usually averages, but Lamar still is third in the NFL in yards per pass attempt. It's the second highest mark of his career, and I know last week sucked. How did he only score 7 points against the Bengals? Well, it's because Isaiah likely dropped a touchdown going across the goal line, or he just fumbled it. It's because Zay Flowers had a 40-yard touchdown, nullifier, no PI. It's because Devontae Walker isn't very good at the game. So I'm not saying all those factors are going to fix themselves here against the Steelers, but just still taking Lamar over Toyota-thon Jordan Love.
That's fine.
From Brian, McLaurin or Walker? Probably Walker there.
Yeah, I'd rather. Yeah, I'll go Walker there. That one's close.
I did have McLaurin higher in my flex ranks. I just kind of assume Walker, which happens sometimes.
Yeah, that one's pretty close, but I'll lean Walker.
Yeah, give me Walker. I'm gonna move him down. Stroud or Shuck? I go CJ Stroud. He's playing good ball.
Yep, and even though the Chiefs' pass rush is no joke, but I still think he's good enough in order to do better than Shuck.
Yeah, agreed there. Stafford or Hurts at quarterback, 4-point passing touchdown. Ooh. I didn't give me Stafford, Chris. Usually Jalen Hurts, I get it. Actually, no. I'm going Jalen Hurts. I'm not over. This is one of those things where we get caught up doing it. Just give me Jalen Hurts. He's going to fall into the end zone twice.
If it was 6-point passing touchdown, so all the rushing and passing stuff would be equalized, then I would go Stafford. But in this case, give me Hurts.
Zay or Christian Watson in PPR, I would go with Zay.
Yeah, even though we haven't seen those boom weeks like we really wanted to out of Zay Flowers. So maybe this is a week going up against the Steelers defense.
DJ Quill, I'm sorry if I skipped your question, bro. Send it back and I'd be happy to get to it. Let's see. Ketty, how are we feeling about Addison? Not very good, bro. It's nothing against Addison. It's just, again, JJ McCarthy, as we know. So this is the matchup, man. I think Justin Jefferson goes off this week, so it would make sense if it actually is Jordan Addison instead going off. But, like, Washington's dead last in the EPA allowed per drop back. Marshawn Lattimore and Trey Amos have been out. Like, we're finally getting – they've spent their last 2 weeks in Seattle, in Green Bay. Those are tough defenses and tough environments. Now we're home again against a Washington team that's getting Jaden Daniels back. So maybe they actually have to keep their foot on the gas. So a lot of things are going right if Nine can actually just throw the football. So
we'll see.
Let's see from Kyle DST, Washington, Miami, or Tennessee. I think I lean Miami. I think all the matchups are great. And I think Miami just has a little, I know they've traded away, some of their dudes on the front seven, so they aren't quite as good, but it's 3 bad real life defenses, but I would rank Miami as the best of the group.
Yeah, and their defense has been playing some better ball over the last few weeks. Because remember, they were like the defense that we wanted to target our running backs against to the earlier part of the year. But now they haven't looked so bad. Held the Commanders to 13 points. And kept the Saints, to 17 points. So yeah, I wouldn't say that Miami. That's not a bad squad to have on your roster.
We'll go Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams. Or, hey, no joke stealing here, Tracks Mark. Don't worry about it, man. We're all good. Nicholas, AD Mitchell, Aaron Jones, BTJ starting 2. I think I'm going Mitchell and Aaron Jones, Chris.
Yes, those 2. Yep.
Last one from our guy Greggy. Holiday shopping strategy. Camped at Walmart on Black Friday and trampled by people to get in. I spent a week's pay on Cyber Monday. I spent all my money at the bar last week. Probably more so spending money at the bar. I will say, guys, I used to do the Black Friday thing, and I thought it was kind of fun, honestly, waking up at 3 or 4 a.m. on Friday. But now half these deals are on Thanksgiving now at 6 p.m. And I'm not going to sacrifice one of my favorite days of the year to try to go get $100 off a laptop. I'll sacrifice the Friday, but as soon as it got pushed into Thursday, Chris, I was out on that. So yeah, either Cyber Monday, but more likely the bar. That's just a good time. Come on.
Yeah, a mix between 2 and 3 for me. I'm with you there.
And with that, guys, going to wrap it up. Again, make sure you check out that Xfinity Start Sit tool is very much free over at Fantasy Life. And if you also want to see our full rankings, those are not free, but they are also, again, available over at fantasylife.com. So appreciate you hanging out as always. Good luck and go get those fantasy W's. So for Chris and for producer Matt, I'm Ian. Thanks again for tuning in. And